Right, y'all, welcome back to Common Arms channel. Okay, so today we're doing another gear review for y'all. Today we have the Mantis BlackbeardX. So this is kind of like a laser dry fire system for your rifle, for your AR15 specifically. And I gotta say, it is very cool. I've been using it for a couple weeks now. My buddy let me borrow it. He said he uses it for like CQB training and stuff. And I'm like, that sounds like a really cool application. So I wanted to check it out as well. Now, if you're just trying to up your dry fire game in general, Mantis products are a great thing to look at. We've checked out the Mantis X previously on the channel. Great little tool with, you know, some pretty cool tech in such a small package. And that was cool for fine tuning some things and also kind of seeing what trends you're kind of falling into when you're doing your dry fire or your live fire. But for dry fire, this takes it a step further by adding lasers, which are always super cool, but also it has the feature where it resets your trigger. So you can use it for a few more, I would say a lot more applications than just a traditional kind of Mantis X, where it's kind of, you know, just going off of you pulling the trigger when you're doing the dry firing and you having to constantly, you know, cock it, unless it's like hammer fired. But again, that's a whole nother thing. But yeah, that feature for it to reset your trigger makes it great, especially for me when you're talking about like CQB training. If you're trying to do CQB training pretty much anywhere, you can do it inside your house, you can do it at work if you want, if you have, you know, a rifle and that's acceptable, I guess. You can do this anywhere. Or you can do drills where you're transitioning from target to target and you're not having to, you know, cock the weapon in between. And that's cool for kind of one, determining your split time, but also helping you just transition from target to target. So if you're not just focusing on kind of like marksmanship style shooting, if you're talking about more like kind of CQB or combat shooting, that is a great tool to be able to focus on those skills. And I'll kind of talk about how the app helps a lot with kind of, you know, showing you the data and what the data actually means, and also just showing where the, you know, the laser actually is, where the hits would actually be. Now, when you're talking about CQB, it's great because now you can go through the house, you can set up multiple targets, and you can actually engage those targets with multiple rounds. You don't need to, you know, again, worry about cocking it when you're moving from room to room. You can just keep this thing going, engage that target, move through the house as you would, engage the next target. Now, I will say you will need the actual phone and the app to see exactly where you're hitting, unless you have like laser reactive targets or something. I don't know if that's a thing. I imagine that's kind of a thing. If it is, actually, that'd be kind of cool. But yeah, you can kind of just use the laser to see where you're actually hitting. And then you could also just, again, kind of go through the house. You're not getting sucked out of the training, having to constantly cock the weapon because it is resetting that trigger for you. So again, this is pretty much the system right here. So you have the charging handle, bolt carrier group. This is pretty much like the laser module itself, and also what actually resets your trigger. And then you have the magazine, which is, this has the Bluetooth. So like we had the Mantis X, where it had like the accelerometer and the gyroscope to tell you like the movement of your weapon. The Mantis X has that kind of built in as well. So it's got the Bluetooth feature to connect to the app to give you that data. And this is also kind of the battery pack. You can kind of see the charging port right there. And then once these link up, then you're ready to go. Super simple. So I'll show you in a couple different ARs. And yeah, and then we can kind of go through the app and I'll show you how great this thing is for dry fire training. Okay, so we have my AR here. Again, you could just, whatever AR build you have, you can just use that. You can use the same trigger. Everything stays the same except for your charging handle and obviously your magazine and bolt carrier group. So all you need to do is break the sucker down shotgun style. And then from there, take out your charging handle and your bolt carrier group. Set those off to the side. Then you just grab that bolt carrier group and charging handle, slide it in, and then you just close up your rifle. All right, and then once you get your magazine, again, kind of like the battery pack, you'll insert it, you'll hear like a click, and I think it also shoots the laser as well. Yep, and then you're good to go, just like that. I mean, you don't really need to check that there's, I was gonna check to see if it was clear, but you don't need to do that. Okay, and then again, you can see it's actually resetting. And I gotta say, it feels like a very authentic trigger pull. Your safety still works fine. It's not gonna do that weird thing where, you know, if you don't cock it, it doesn't actually go on safe all the way. So again, you can really focus on presenting a couple of shots, and then just like that. Very, very cool system. And again, I really love how you can kind of just use whatever AR build you want to rock with. And again, it just keeps that nice, authentic trigger feel. It doesn't recoil, there's that. Maybe at some point there will be something to add to this. But I gotta say, when it comes to dry firing, I did not expect something this cool to come out. I mean, I really hope to see more kind of dry fire trainers, because that's where you really make your money with refining things before and after the range. So if we can see more setups like this, just adding more and more realism, then I'm all about it. And real quick before we get down and dirty, again, I will take this and put it in another AR. So this is just very standard AR. So this is a Colt AR15 A4. So again, all you need to do, take that stuff out, throw in this part, close it up, and then get your magazine. And again, it's gonna do that clicky thing. Now this has a trigger from Mimtac, very solid trigger. I was kind of worried that I wouldn't be able to shoot as fast doing this kind of dry fire setup because it wouldn't reset the trigger as fast, but it resets the trigger faster than I can shoot it. So really no concerns there. When I'm shooting this on a live fire, I can shoot a little bit faster because of this trigger. But again, in general, I'm terrible at shooting fast, but again, you don't need to worry about that at all. Ah, man, I'm so bad at shooting fast. Just take my word for it. It's resetting very fast. I need like Jaeger to come and like do like a cameo or something on this video. And once you have all that stuff set up, you can go into the app. So I'll have it screen recording right now. So once you log into the Mantis X app, then you can click the button on the bottom and that'll get your Bluetooth going. You click connect on the actual app, and then just like that, they're synced up and this is ready to go. So there's a few things you can do on that app. There's shot timer drills, there's shoot no shoot drills. There's a lot of really cool stuff on the app itself. You can also get the Mantis Laser Academy app, which I'm gonna show after this, which adds a lot more kind of complexity and again, a lot more opportunities for how to use this thing. So again, we'll do like a little demo. I'll keep this screen recording so you guys can kind of see what's going on the app, but we'll do some general open training just to see some of those metrics, some of the data that's actually capturing, and then we can move into some of the other things like shot timer, etc. So I'm going to click open training. It's going to want me to calibrate the gun. So I'm gonna set that sucker down. It's calibrating. And then just like that, we're good. I'm gonna make sure I'm good. I'm set to right-handed drills. So there's buzzer delays and whatnot if you wanna do that. And then I can just start it. So again, this is just open training. So I'm just going to take my rifle, do some shots, try and make them as accurate as possible, and we'll see what kind of data we're actually getting back. All right, so I'll do one bad shot and then I'll get a good shot in. Well, as good as I can. I guess we'll test myself here. Okay, so let's check both of those out. Okay, so the score on the first one was a 50, so pretty bad. Obviously, I was just kind of jerking the trigger hardcore. And the next one, 84.8. Okay, so again, it seemed pretty decent, but again, there's a lot of things going on. Okay, so if I click that first shot, I can see the kind of movement that I was getting leading up to the shot, when the shot actually breaks, and then kind of some travel right after. So again, kind of like a big swing. Moving on to the second shot, a lot less movement, hovering around where I generally want to shoot, and then shot breaking, and then movement after. So the yellow is pretty much the movement right before the shot, and then you got your break and then some travel afterwards. So yeah, you can kind of see there's a lot of kind of hooking with that first shot. Moving on to the second shot, definitely a lot better. Moving on to some other data, you can see kind of your movement with your hold, the movement with the trigger pull itself. So you can see I had a lot more in that first shot. Second shot wasn't as bad. And then again, it kind of gives you some advice. So pulling with the firing hand, pulling with the support hand. So yeah, with that first shot, you can see I hooked it and then just kind of pulled the entire weapon to the right. And that's kind of why we got that. And if I'm pushing too much with my support hand, then you might also get a little bit of movement going towards the right. Especially with a rifle, you don't think the support hand really has as much kind of play as it would with a pistol. But again, there's a lot of things to consider. There's a reason why people have hand stops, why people use a C-clamp, as opposed to, you know, kind of thumbs forward grip. But again, like even when you're doing all this, you can still be pushing it. You can still be focusing more on pulling the weapon straight into your shoulder and then getting a good shot. Okay, and that one, and again, just considering that, focusing more on pulling the weapon straight back into my shoulder, we got a 98.4. And again, we can kind of review that data and see what was going on. So we're gonna see the movement is going to be probably a little bit less lateral. So yeah, that yellow is floating right around the center as opposed to kind of that second shot where, you know, again, I wasn't really focused. I was just kind of just doing general combat shooting. But we can see right before that shot, there was a little bit of travel to the right. So again, just focusing on things like that really helps. Things that I wouldn't even consider, again, when you're talking about combat shooting, as long as, you know, it generally lands where you're trying to aim relatively accurately, have a decent grouping, and get a good speed, you're not going to be focusing so much on other things. But again, just something as simple as pulling it straight back and focusing a little bit more on that sport hand will give you probably more accurate, better, tighter groups. Okay, now we're set up for some shot timer drills. These are always fun. So we got this set up. So it's going to restart the drill or get ready to restart the next iteration after I fire twice. So I'm basically going to percent, fire twice, and get ready for the next beep. So it's going to repeat 10 times, and then we have a delay of 2 to 5 seconds. So this should be fun. So I'll just get that set up. Doesn't really need to be anywhere particular. And then once I'm ready, I'm gonna hit start. Okay, now I'm getting ready. Got those 2 shots. Okay, focusing on my target. The 2 to 5 seconds is nice because I can't really game the game and predict it as well. Oh man, that was a long one. Getting antsy. That was a short one. It's just fun. I love doing these drills. Okay, and then it did like a beep, basically letting me know that we are done. Okay, let me take this off so you guys aren't just hearing slings scraping against the microphone. So the scores in general when it comes to combat shooting like that, like presentation drills, aren't going to be as good because again, we have a lot of travel. We don't have a whole lot of time to kind of steady the weapon. We're just getting that shot off as quick as we can, getting that follow-on shot as quick as we can, generally keeping a tight group. But there are going to be some trends that we can identify. So poor follow through, that's definitely true because again, when you're considering that it's resetting, what I'm doing is I'm presenting, shooting, and then I'm getting ready. I'm just mentally getting ready for the next drill. So I'm shooting, immediately dropping it. So I'm not necessarily shooting, keeping it on target to basically make sure that that dude is actually dead. What I'm doing is I'm gaming it too much. I'm shooting, and then immediately down. So again, things to consider. Because you get into the habit, especially in the military, of just doing things like that, getting ready for the next drill, as opposed to actually presenting your weapon, engaging somebody, and then making sure that you don't need to engage them anymore. So things to consider, and again, just having something like this where you don't really have a coach to kind of go through that kind of stuff, it's good just to kind of give you a reminder. This is all stuff that I was taught, but again, like when you're just focusing on different things, some things will slip, and follow through is usually one of the first ones to go. Now the last drill we're going to do with the Mantis X app before we move on to the Laser Academy app is some transition. So here we're just going to do a box drill. This is something we did a lot in Marine CQB school. That's just 2 to the chest, 2 to the chest, head. And that's just, again, you're trying to kind of engage both of these guys in quick succession, and then those headshots are just to kind of finish them off if they do have body armor, or those 2 rounds weren't as effective. So it's just making sure you can affect both of these guys quickly before really focusing on finishing one dude out. So box drills, a lot of fun, and it's kind of cool that this is built into the app. So let's try this. So we have it set up to repeat 5 times. And again, we'll be able to kind of see how we're moving when we're transitioning from target to target, and then from headshots to headshot, kind of moving back and forth. So should be good. I've never had my box drills analyzed like this, but I mean, I think I'm pretty good at hitting the box. All right, let's do it. Okay, let's see how that was. Oh shit, it's 5. Ooh, those shots were pretty good on the last one, but my safety got snagged up a bit. Ooh, okay, wow, that gave me a lot of validation. Gets a score of a 96.1. So looking at the transitions, so scores are pretty good. Again, we can kind of check the times. Over travel, so over travel is a big thing. This is something that happens a lot when people are riding their sights. So if they're going from one target to the next, they tend to look at their reticle or their optic or their sights, and they'll be looking at the other target, starting to look at the other target, but they're focused more on the sights than the actual target themselves. So what you really need to do is look at that target's chest, engage, look at the next target's chest, bring your sight to that position that your eyes are already at, and then that'll keep you from over traveling. Same with the headshots. As opposed to looking through your reticle and kind of bringing it up, you have a tendency to bounce it back down because you end up going too far. So what you need to do is engage your chest, look up at the head, and then bring your sights to that position. So that's why I think, again, I've done box drills a lot at CQB school, so we kind of worked on making sure we're not over traveling too much. This is cool because it kind of color codes everything. You can kind of see your different scores. So all pretty good. And again, if you like record yourself actually kind of doing it, you can kind of see where the delay might have been, if maybe your gear got snagged up or your selector switch, again, kind of got a hang up. Things to consider when you're looking at it from multiple perspectives. Yeah, but this is cool because you can see the transition. So I had a little bit of a swing, and then going to the head, again, pretty good where it's not over traveling. And then moving to the next head, again, good with no over traveling. And then seeing the next transition. So a bit of a swing. So I could probably get a little bit flatter, but I'm trying to see maybe why I swing. I think that's literally just my body mechanics, as far as when you naturally rotate your hips, you have a bit of an arc. So that's kind of what I'm seeing there, because I'm not really like moving it with my arms. I could move it with my arms and get it probably a little bit flatter, but with, as opposed to like muscling the weapon, all I do kind of is rotate a little bit more at the hips, and that helps me kind of drive it to the next target a bit better. And you might be able to kind of see that if you roll it back. Whenever I was actually doing the box drills, you might see a little bit more movement in the knees. So those body mechanics will have a little bit more arc to it. Okay, so now we're in the Mantis Training Academy app. So you can see here, again, this is more, as opposed to kind of focusing more on the movement and that kind of data, this is focusing more on target placement. So where that laser is actually showing up on the target. So there's a bunch of things you can do. You can actually print off targets. You can actually get the targets from their website, which is pretty cool if you want to do like some fun stuff. It basically just tells you to get the target. Or again, open shooting single targets is a good one. You can pretty much use whatever target you want, and then you could also kind of change up the sizing of the target itself. This so you guys can see my actual kind of finger movement. So I want to zoom out a little bit, so I'm going to zoom out. Okay, I think that's pretty good right there. So let me adjust my tripod. And then, okay, so that looks pretty good. And this is cool because like if it gets too bright, if you know, like the lighting in the studio, if it gets too bright, it's gonna make it too hard to actually kind of see the laser. So if I turn off one of these lights, then we should be in business. Okay, so we're good now. And again, you can also move the box around, and you can also adjust the size of it so you can make it taller, wider. So right now we'll just kind of set it up right about there. I think that's pretty good. We can make it a little bit more narrow actually. Okay, so now that that is set up, we can get our rifle, and then again, wherever the laser basically shows up on the paper, it'll show up here as like a kind of a hit, which is really, really cool. And I'll also show you how that works in if you're also aiming with a laser, because I have a PEC 15 on my rifle set up here. and that's also pretty freaking unique. So this is kind of the setup right now. And again, I'll run through some drills so you guys can kind of see what it's looking like. Something else to consider is height over bore. Since my optic is up here and my barrel where the round's actually coming out is, you know, that much lower. When you're this close up, you need to consider that because this optic is zeroed for about 50 yards. So I need to aim a little bit higher because my barrel is a little bit lower than my actual optic. So I'm actually going to be aiming about 4 inches above where I'm actually trying to hit because of that height over bore being at like 3-4 meters right now. Okay, so we got it going on the app, and let's get some drills going. I'm just gonna do some failure to stop drills. So 2 to the chest, 1 to the head. And again, like you can get really, really fast just doing this, but again, you gotta focus, slow it down, and remember certain things like follow through. Because if you engage somebody in real life, do 2 to the chest, 1 to the head, he's like super cracked out, and you know, even that headshot didn't do anything, you still wanna make sure you stay on target. So I'll remember that as well. Again, looking at it on my app, again, we're seeing very solid shots in the thoracic cavity, very solid shots in the T-box. Again, we are very close, but yeah, that dude would be toast. And yeah, he'd be getting a very interesting nose job because I just made him look like Squidward here on the app. Okay, so what happens when I have a PEC 15 with a visible laser? So I'll show you guys. This is my visible laser. This is the actual Mantis. So again, 2 lasers. But let's see how it factors that in. Okay, so I've cleared out the target, and then let's see what happens when I get my PEC over the target. So you can see it's got basically a green color on it, and then when I actually engage, you can see my shots are a different color than the actual PEC, which is pretty freaking cool. And something I kind of glanced over, there's like a little kind of tab you can slide down on the actual bull carrier parts itself, and then that'll have a continuous laser. So if you need to kind of move the laser up and down, left and right, you can use an Allen wrench and adjust that right here as well. So if it's not necessarily aligned great with your optic, then you can do that and you're good to go. Again, kind of considering the height of a bore thing though. But yeah, there are a lot of very cool applications for this. Again, kind of talking about the CQB aspect of it. I was setting up these targets with my phone. So whenever I was actually making entry, I could engage that target from, you know, different positions, whether it be in the doorway, kind of moving around a corner. I can set up the target in a bunch of different areas, set up the phone, and then I can see when I'm engaging from those weird, more awkward positions, how it's actually affecting my accuracy, how it's affecting my timing. Again, I can kind of look at the other things going into the Mantis X app itself, and I can see how I'm actually moving when I'm getting into these crazy positions. So if you have like a CQB kind of course, or if you're doing that, it's a great kind of thing to, you know, get some people exposed to moving in the CQB kind of environment, and also using that laser, actually engaging some targets. And then when you're talking about dry firing, again, it's just a very cool tool for that as well. So for example, I have this corner fed room, so I can kind of see here through the hinge that there's nothing there. So now I just need to clear out this area, and we have our target on the wall in that way. So doing my general pine off, don't really see anything, don't see anything. Drive my corner, engage the target, and then I can start sweeping the rest of the room. There's other things, again, you can kind of just practice shooting from cover, engaging the target, and see how it's affecting your accuracy again, see how it's affecting your timing. And again, it's just fun to have this cool laser setup to see where I'm actually hitting, to see if my shots are generally going to be somewhat effective if I am having to engage. And again, it doesn't have that recoil. With an AR15, for the most part, it is kind of negligible, but it is something to consider. So if we can get, you know, a system in the future where it has all that, it encompasses all that, that'd be super cool. But for now, I think this is probably one of the best dry fire tools we have when it comes to the AR15 platform. So something to consider if you're trying to use this for CQB, if you're trying to use it as an instructional tool in general, if you're trying to just refine some of your skills, since it has kind of like that Mantis X, the accelerometer gyroscope thing, you can use that with the Mantis X app. And again, a lot of options for you. And for the price, I think it's definitely worth it when you're talking about dry firing, being able to do all this inside of your home with your actual AR15 platform. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this kind of overview of the BlackbeardX. Again, Mantis making some very cool stuff. They do have it also for SIG platform. I'm excited to see what kind of other firearms we can get this system in. Like if they could make this for an AK, my gosh, the AK guys would go crazy. Yeah, that'd be freaking sick. If we can see this in a few other gun platforms, like even the MP5, my gosh, I would just be doing that all day. Like that would be my adult fidget toy, to be honest. So again, I think you guys would definitely appreciate this thing. If you're just trying to have fun inside your house, if you're trying to improve your fundamentals, if you're trying to up your dry fire game, this is a very cool tool. If you guys have any questions on the BlackbeardX, let me know. Again, this is my buddy's, so I'm going to be giving it back to him after this. But I'm definitely going to be picking up my own because, again, it's just a lot of fun. And again, if you're just trying to like test out somebody's AR platform, they can just bring it to your house. You just chuck this in, chuck the magazine in, and then you can start playing with the trigger and playing with the actual presentation, transitioning and stuff, seeing how it compares with your other AR builds to see how comfortable you feel with it. Again, it's a lot better than just kind of presenting it, click, and then you have to rack it again. Being able to kind of actually put it on target and see where those hits would actually be going makes a huge difference, I gotta say. So yeah, very cool. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know what you think about the review in general. If there's something you want to see in the future when it comes to these product reviews, then definitely let me know. But I will put a link to the BlackbeardX in the video description if you guys want to go and check it out. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed. That is it for this video. I'll see y'all in the next one.